I can never seem to get the lighting correct. Like this side of my face is perfect. This light, it's right next to my face. This light is a little bit further back, so I feel like there's a giant shadow on this cheek that I don't know if it's just me, but is it super obvious? Today I'm going to be benchmarking my gaming PC that I built about 2 weeks ago. You can watch that video here somewhere. It's going to be a box right here. The monitor I use is the LG 34UC87C, I think that's right. Now this monitor isn't actually meant for gaming, it's just kind of a standard productivity monitor, but I use it for gaming. It tops out at a 60 Hz refresh rate. I believe they do make ultra-wide gaming monitors, but the one I have is just your standard productivity one. The resolution of this monitor is 3440 by 1440, so it's as ultra wide as you can get currently. I don't think they make an ultra wide monitor with a higher resolution than that. Also, just to let you know, I'm using the MSI Gaming X 1070. Honestly, all 1070s should run more or less the same, minus the cooling aspect, but whatever 1070 you get, it should run more or less the same. So to start off, I ran Firestrike, which isn't really run in ultra wide, but I thought it was a good benchmark to run just to get, you know, your basic settings down. So Firestrike gave an average FPS of 75 and had a score of 15,060. Then I moved on to Timespace. Timespace is actually, I think, their newest benchmarking tool. It runs at DirectX 12. For that one, I got a lower score of about 5,716 and it had an average FPS of 34 frames per second. But Timespace was actually run at ultra wide settings, so it's giving you a better idea of how this graphics card can handle ultra wide gaming. So the last benchmarking test I ran was Unigine Heaven. I ran it at ultra settings with tessellation on, and I ran it at the native display resolution of the screen, and it gave an average FPS of 62 frames per second with a score of 1,564. Now, to be completely honest with you guys, I don't really know what these numbers mean. I've never really run benchmarks before. So take them with a grain of salt. Personally, I look more at the average FPS because in games, that's the thing that's actually gonna matter to you. So I did run 3 games that support ultra wide settings, so I can show you guys the average FPS I was getting. Now before I start, all these games were set to max settings, all with a resolution of 3440 by 1440 full screen. And I think I had VSync off. First game I tested was Evolve, and it gave me an average FPS of 59 frames per second. Next up was The Witcher 3, which gave me an average FPS of 48. And lastly, I ran Rise of the Tomb Raider, which gave me an average FPS of 57 frames per second. So I didn't achieve a 60 frames per second average FPS on all these games, but honestly, personally, I don't care about getting 60 frames on everything. I think as long as it's above 30, I mean even 40, that's really all I care about. As long as none of the games stutter and lag, that's the only thing that really matters to me. Anything above 30 is a win. So is a 1070 good enough to run most games on ultra settings at an ultra wide resolution? Definitely. As long as you're not a stiffler for frame rates, it'll do just fine. Though I have to admit that my MSI Gaming X 1070 did run hotter than I expected it to. The average temps for most of my games were about mid 70s, which is a bit higher than I'm comfortable with, so I'm gonna have to do some tweaking in Afterburner to get it right. Though beyond that, I didn't really experience any issues. There wasn't any lag or stutter. But if you're looking for higher FPS for ultra wide gaming, maybe go with a 1080. Though honestly, if you're gonna get a monitor like this, you're gonna be kind of capped at 60 Hz anyway, so a little bit under 60 is just fine. Those are my tests, guys. Again, these things are gonna vary from person to person depending on your build, your setup, all that stuff. So take everything I said with a grain of salt. But as always, stay sexy, and I'll see you sometime. And subscribing is cool. Subscribing encourages people to keep making videos, such as myself. So if you want to, no pressure, it's up to you. I'm just saying, you can make somebody's dreams come true today. And you know what? Is it worth it? I think it's worth it.